In the shadowy world of organized crime, they were more than just names. They were the kings of chaos, ruling with fear, violence, and unshakable power. From the silent streets of Chicago to the bustling neighborhoods of New York and beyond, when the hunters became the hunted. This is the rise and fall of the most dangerous mafia members in history. Al Capone, the infamous Scarface. Capone ruled Chicago's underworld during the Prohibition era, commanding an empire of illegal gambling, prostitution, and bootlegging. He was untouchable until the bloody 1929 St. Valentine's Day massacre, which shocked the nation. 7 men were gunned down on Capone's orders, cementing his reputation as a ruthless enforcer of power. But for all his violent crimes, Capone's downfall came from an unexpected source: tax evasion. Arrested in 1931, he was sentenced to 11 years in prison. He was released early due to his deteriorating health, and by 1947, Capone succumbed to complications from syphilis, dying in relative obscurity in Florida. For the man who once ruled Chicago, death came not from a bullet, but from his own failing body. Charles "Lucky" Lucchino, the architect of the American Mafia. Lucky Lucchino wasn't just another gangster. He was the mastermind behind the Commission, the governing body that united the Mafia families across America. Despite his cunning, Lucchino was convicted of running a prostitution ring in 1936 and sentenced to up to 50 years in prison. However, he struck a deal with the U.S. government during World War II, offering help in exchange for his freedom. Deported to Italy, Lucchino continued to influence the mob from afar until his death in 1962 from a heart attack in Naples. Lucchino built an empire that outlasted him, a legacy of crime woven into the very fabric of America. John Gotti, the Teflon Don. Known for his charisma and flair, John Gotti was the face of the Gambino crime family. His ability to dodge the law earned him the nickname the Teflon Don, but his downfall came from within. His underboss, Sammy "the Bull" Gravano, turned against him, providing testimony that led to Gotti's conviction in 1992. Sentenced to life in prison, Gotti spent his final days behind bars, dying from throat cancer in 2002. In the end, even the Teflon Don couldn't escape his fate. Vito Genovesi, the ambitious drug lord. Vito Genovesi aspired to become the boss of all bosses, expanding his empire through the heroin trade. His ambitions led to his downfall when informants testified against him. In 1959, Genovese was convicted of drug trafficking and sentenced to 15 years in prison, where he died in 1969. Genovese reached for the top, but in the end, it was his own thirst for power that sealed his fate. Albert Anastasia, the Lord High Executioner. Albert Anastasia was one of the founding members of Murder, Inc., a group of contract killers that served the Mafia. His violent tendencies earned him the nickname the Lord High Executioner. But his reign ended in 1957 when he was gunned down in a barbershop, assassinated by rivals within the Mafia. For the man who lived by the gun, death was inevitable, striking him in the most unexpected place. Sammy "the Bull" Gravano, the betrayer. Sammy Gravano was the feared enforcer for John Gotti. Responsible for 19 murders, he shocked the world when he turned state's witness, testifying against Gotti and others. After entering witness protection, Gravano couldn't resist the criminal life. In 2000, he was arrested again for running an ecstasy ring and served a 20-year sentence. Released in 2017, Gravano now lives a quiet life, still haunted by the ghosts of his past. The ultimate betrayal brought down a mafia empire, but even freedom came at a cost. Roy DeMeo, the Butcher. Roy DeMeo was a hitman notorious for his brutal Gemini method of dismembering bodies. Responsible for over 200 murders, DeMeo was eventually deemed a liability by his superiors. In 1983, his bullet-riddled body was found in the trunk of his own car, the same fate he had delivered to so many others. For DeMeo, the car trunk that once hid his victims became his final resting place. Salvatore "Toto" Rena, the Sicilian Terror. Salvatore. Rena was the terror of Sicily, responsible for countless murders and bombings during his reign as the boss of bosses. His most infamous crimes included the murders of anti-mafia prosecutors. Arrested in 1993, Rena was sentenced to life in prison, where he died in 2017. Even in chains, Rena's legacy of violence continues to haunt Sicily. Carlo Gambino. The silent Don, unlike his contemporaries, Carlo Gambino kept a low profile, orchestrating hits and operations with quiet precision. He died peacefully in his bed in 1976, a rare fate for a mafia boss. In a world of violence, Gambino's peaceful death was an anomaly, but his legacy of power still echoes. Joseph "the Animal" Barbosa, the first informant. Joseph Barbosa, known as the Animal for his brutal methods, became one of the first mafia members to enter the witness protection program. Despite his new identity, Barbosa couldn't escape the life of crime, and in 1976 he was hunted down and killed by the Mafia. The Animal ran, but in the end there was no escaping the long reach of the mob. These men built their empires on blood and fear, but in the end their fates were sealed by the very violence they lived by. Power, after all, always comes with a price. Thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe for more history.